Grandpa saw Smith alone, so he invited him to play ball together. Smith thought that he was so young that he could not be defeated by his grandpa, but he didn't expect to be beaten by his grandpa just a few days ago. Smith came to China because of the job change of his mother, Dre Parker, but Smith is not fluent in language and cannot adapt to the new environment. Smith said a few words to the girl Zhao Mei, which caused a Cheng's dissatisfaction. The two fought together, but Smith couldn't win, so he was knocked down by a Cheng. After school that day, Smith met a Cheng again at school. Smith ran away and ran to the door of Zhao Mei's violin practice room. At this time, Zhao Mei was being scolded by the teacher, and Smith went forward to comfort Zhao Mei. At this time, Zhao Mei's teacher suddenly returned to the practice room, and Smith left in a hurry. Smith ran into a Cheng. Smith turned to go, but was stopped by them. But a Cheng didn't do anything, only warned Smith to stay away from Zhao Mei. Smith and his mother went shopping. When Smith saw the sign of martial arts school, Smith ran into the school. The mother and Smith, who caught up, were shocked by the sight of practicing martial arts. After coming out of the martial arts school, Smith was furious with his mother. Smith could not bear it, and the two parted unhappily. Mr. Han saw everything. It's the day when Tanji goes to visit the Forbidden City. After the visit, Smith followed a Cheng all the way to seek justice for his grievances, so when a Cheng stopped playing, Smith picked up a bucket of dirty water and threw it over. A Cheng quickly ran after Smith when he found him.
You're fast. Not fast enough.
Smith was immediately surrounded. Smith was knocked to the ground, but a Cheng still refused to stop. At this time, Mr. Han suddenly appeared and stopped a Cheng. A Cheng is unconvinced. Mr. Han defeated them. A Cheng can only stop. Mr. Han takes Smith back to his hut and heals his wounds with a fire pot. Smith and Mr. After talking, Han felt that a Cheng and others had defiled martial arts and wanted to go to the martial arts school to talk to their teachers. After hesitating, Mr. Han decided to accompany Smith. The little boy who was beaten by the school bully was beaten by the other side without fighting back. Fortunately, Mr. Han appeared in time to help him out. A Cheng didn't want to stop, but he directly told Mr. Han moved his hand. Mr. Han knocked the other party to the ground and decided to go to a Cheng's martial arts school to have a talk with their teacher. The two have just entered the school, so it's convenient to think that they are coming to challenge the school and prepare for a showdown. Mr. Han apologized for hurting a Cheng and others, but was stopped by Master Li. Mr. Han had to fight Master Li. The two met to compete in the martial arts competition. During preparation, Smith can also temporarily ensure safety. At this point, the two began the training before the competition, but Smith arrived at Mr. Han's family. Mr. Han did not immediately teach him martial arts, but asked him to take off his coat and hang up his coat repeatedly. So, when Han came to repair the water pipe, he saw that Smith always threw his coat on the ground, which made Smith's mother headache. After returning home, Smith broke his bad habit of littering clothes. This day, Smith just arrived at Mr. and Han's house. Smith's mother came to pick up Smith. Mr. Han wanted to refuse, but he couldn't resist Smith's mother's strong request. So the three went to the Kixie Festival. After arriving at the garden party, Smith stole to the Shadow Play Theater that was arranged with Zhao Mei in advance. The two met backstage in the Shadow Play and went to cheer for each other's game. After several days, Smith still only stayed in the practice of taking off his coat and hanging it. Smith thought it was stupid and didn't want to repeat it. However, Mr. Han walked forward and threw away the coat in Smith's hand. Breaking down Smith's action of putting on the coat, Smith understands Mr. Han asked him to practice.
Check it out. Check it off.
Kung Fu is between the details of life and the attitude towards others. Mr. Han took Smith to the top of the mountain. Smith stared at the master who practiced snake skill at the edge of the cliff. Mr. Han called Smith to the Longquan. The heat and thirst over the mountains made the Longquan in front of him very sweet. The two started a new round of training at the water's edge. After a day of hard practice, Smith fell asleep tired on the return train. Mr. Han took the sleeping Smith home. Zhao Mei felt uneasy when she learned about her acting time. Smith saw Zhao Mei so nervous and took her away from school. Two people forget their worries and play wantonly. After the joy, Zhao Mei was suddenly informed that the performance was changed to today. As soon as the performance was about to start, the two people rushed to school. Zhao Mei was picked up by her parents. Smith is practicing martial arts in order to stop being bullied by a Cheng. Smith thanks Mr. Han studied martial arts as a teacher. He never stopped, no matter wind or rain. On that day, in order to catch up with Zhao Mei's performance, Smith ran desperately to the match site. Running out of breath, Smith finally caught up with Zhao Mei's performance. At the end of the performance, Smith congratulated Zhao Mei. But Zhao Mei's parents thought that Smith had a bad influence on their daughter and wouldn't let the two continue to communicate. Smith didn't want to go home, so he went to Mr. Han's family. Unexpectedly found Mr. Han smashed the car in his living room. Mr. Han's wife and children are with Mr. Han quarreled and died in a car accident. Today is their death day. Mr. When Han was crying, Smith held his hand and the two men practiced Kung Fu again. Smith cured Mr. with his kindness and warmth. Han. After practice day after day, Smith's Kung Fu has also improved by leaps and bounds. Near the martial arts competition, Smith pleased Mr. Han helped him write a letter to ask Zhao Meimi's parents for forgiveness. Smith's sincerity moved Zhao Meimi's parents. They not only agreed that Zhao Mei would go to see Smith's game, but also wished him well. The day of the competition is coming soon. Smith is wearing Mr. Han gave him clothes to enter the arena. Smith, who had just entered the game, was afraid and once avoided the attack of his opponent, but the score was deducted for being out of bounds. Seeing the score, Smith finally entered the state and soon won the first game. After several fierce competitions, Smith successfully entered the semi-finals, and Smith was maliciously injured by his opponent in this match. The opponent was disqualified, but Smith's body can no longer compete. Smith didn't want to admit defeat, so he let Mr. Han help him heal. Mr. Han is puzzled.
Because I'm still scared. No matter what happens tonight when I leave, I don't want to be scared anymore.
When the championship was about to be announced, Smith returned to the game. After a fierce fight, both sides scored 1 point, and the game entered a white-hot stage. Smith seriously injured his opponent, and his opponent also touched Smith. After a short rest, the game began again. A Cheng aimed at Smith's wound to attack, and the two sides drew again. Smith stood up with pain. Smith integrated the snake skills and used only one leg to attack. Finally, he won the match. Smith also won the respect of his opponent. Martial arts is not for holding the strong and bullying the weak, nor for defeating anything, but for the ultimate peace. Smith won the final victory with a firm heart and a kind heart.